Oh, let's talk about before I go. Let's talk about Juicy, man. Juicy
Yeah,
Smollett.
I
He's
have
taking a
not
stand
been.
today.
Oh my God, what a disaster! Why can't that be televised?
Juicy. I would love to see Juicy on the stand. Oh my god. Oh my
Look,
god.
I'm seriously, I'm gonna write an op-ed and I'm gonna start pitching it out to any major media publications that you're watching this. Look, if you want an audio version of the op-ed, I'll do it. I'll record it with you or whatever. But I'm gonna write the op-ed, and it's this: a camera in every court and 2 streams in every case. Right, playing
Yep.
off of the old Herbert Hoover.
Yeah.
Put cameras in the courtrooms. Everything should be transparent and open. I don't care if there's nobody watching these
Yes.
traffic cattle calls that they do or whatever.
They should
Every
automatically be
single one.
watched. Yep.
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 They should.
We
They
can
should
do it.
all be there. It's
Yep. And
free. The government has to put in the most minimal amount of effort. It's literally just live stream a camera on the courtroom. That's it. It doesn't have to be fancy. You don't have to have if the audio glitches up or whatever, you don't even have to really have tech support on it or anything. Just put the damn camera in the courtroom for every case. You've already got a camera recording these things in every single courtroom that I've been in the past couple years. There's a camera. Even in the oldest buildings ever, they got a hardwired camera looking at me as defense counsel the entire time. Put those things, just broadcast them. Why are we not doing that? How is that not in the interest of justice?
Well, some states have the sunshine law, like Florida. Florida have the sunshine law, so you don't have anything to do with this. But I think it's weird because they still want like this secrecy about a public trial. Like you have to physically go there. But you're right. I think this is nonsense. I think we pay their salaries, right? Those judges work for us. That courtroom works for us, and for them not putting cameras in there and forcing us to go down there is just ridiculous, right? We want to see it, but that's the legislature, right? The legislature can go and pass those laws and say, "Yo, we want cameras and everything to be televised." But I think the problem is that some of the sometimes people don't want to see how the bacon is made or how the hamburger is made or whatever. So that's probably what they want to do. So
it's that, and here's how they always couch it: victims' rights, because they never say which is funny, because in the courtroom you should be concerned about the accused's rights. Maybe you should say
yes.
Yeah, this guy's got a presumption of innocence, and if we put him on camera in front of the world, then people think he's guilty. Because frankly, you're sitting at the defense table. A lot of people go, "What'd this guy do? Why is he there? Is he guilty?" That's the first thought. But they never say it that way. They always go, "Well, the victims in the case have rights," and it's like, actually, they don't really.
They don't. Yeah.
Yeah. Go ahead.
Well, no, I was just saying for everyone to understand, all the rights that we talk about in the courtroom is all for the defendant, right? The right to remain silent, the right to an attorney, all the rights, because the founders were so, back in England, it was kind of like, you're guilty, go kill that man, but here they were like, we need due process of law. So all the rights were about protecting the defendant to make sure the defendant wasn't sandbagged, that beyond a reasonable doubt, the presumption of innocence. So when someone says the rights for victims, they're just playing on words for you. The rights and that's one thing about the Rittenhouse trial. People were saying that the court was so protective of Kyle. That's the court's job, to be protective of the defendant's rights. And when those rights are violated, you got to check the government, because what Binger was doing was violating that kid's rights. And the court is the stop that says, no, you're not supposed to do that. This is the way it's going to go.
And the court's the only one who can do that. That's the other thing. Like the people look at the court's job a lot of times as deciding guilt or innocence, but the court's job is not, it's actually kind of detached from that unless you're in a bench trial. The jury's job is to decide whether the factual analysis meets the legal definitions. And then the court's job is to ensure that the defendant's rights are respected throughout the process, and then facilitate questions of law that arise during the process. But questions of law are decided without really regard to the facts of the case. I mean, have the facts been raised to raise this question of law? If they haven't, then the question of law needs to be decided and gotten rid of. We just go ahead and fix that out, as we saw with the minor in possession charge and the curfew charge. Well, the curfew was invalid, so therefore the facts of this case no longer matter. The curfew charge is invalid. The law says it's invalid. Okay, it's gone. The minor in possession charge, they have not raised sufficient facts to bring the minor in possession charge under this court. And since they have failed to raise those sufficient facts, we're going to remove it. He's not guilty of that because you did not allege the elements of guilt. But other than that, the court is not supposed to be interested in whether Kyle is guilty or innocent. They're supposed to facilitate the public trial by the public jury of making that determination. And outside, and then maybe the judge will impose sentencing like in Minnesota, judges do sentencing, not a jury. But other than that, again, they're not interested in the outcome. They're not supposed to be. So what their job is at that point is to ensure the rights are protected. And that's what the rules of evidence are about. That's what all of this stuff is about. But what I find interesting, just as a pile on to what you were saying about the rights of the victim don't really matter. The rights of the victim in every state are codified in statute. That's where they come from. It's a specific statute that says the victim's right is to offer testimony at sentencing and give a victim impact statement. It's like but that's not actually a right. That's a statute that they called a right because they determined that someone who is deemed, and you're talking about at sentencing here, they're deemed and adjudicated that this person is a victim. At that point, they get to come up and have their say. And when you think about that, that's not much of a right at all. That's a privilege that the court gives you.
Yeah, and plus that doesn't conflict with the right of the defendant at that time, because the defendant's rights have already been protected at trial. And for instance, at sentencing, you can actually apply to hearsay evidence and things of that nature, which would not be allowed in the penalty at the trial phase. So yeah, no, I agree with everything you just said. It's a shame that, but the funny thing is that's why having these trials public would allow people to understand this, because people like us will tell people, well, this is the reason why it works this way. This is the reason why this. And now all these people now will be more familiar with the system. But now to say, like with the Jussie Smollett trial, to say we don't want to show because we the victims have these. No, this is not the way it goes, right? The reason why it's a public trial is so there's no shenanigans. That's the reason why you have a right to a public trial, and it's not behind closed doors. It's because it's supposed to be open in air, and we're all supposed to see it, and we're all supposed to see just like with Rittenhouse, the good and the bad, and we can judge like, hey, this is good, this is bad, and what we like and don't like to make adjustments. So, but
one brief thing about that's really interesting that we see it in this Potter trial with jury selection is that, guys, all of this talk about like privacy and transparency in the courts, if they were not broadcasting the Potter trial, you could go into the courtroom and sit down and watch all of jury selection. You could see the jurors. Not only that, but in every other case in Minnesota, as we saw with the defense screwing up, they would refer to the jurors by name. This juror privacy is actually not a real thing either. Juror privacy is only implemented when there is cause to believe that juror privacy is necessary for the integrity of the case. Like, jurors are not anonymous. If you go in to a case in Minnesota that is not Kim Potter or not Derek Chauvin, they're gonna refer to the jurors by name as they do jury selection. I mean, they're not going to broadcast them out there. The media may not be allowed to release their names, but their names are public. Like, you could just go and listen to them. You can identify the jurors. You can see them. You can't take pictures, but that's more about the broadcast of it. So this whole like situation that we've created where all of this stuff is happening in the dark is all actually a fiction that's been just generated around the idea that I think it's exactly what you're saying. The judges and the prosecutors and the defense attorneys too don't want the public to scrutinize their work because it's not sexy. It's not Law and Order, right? It's not wrapped up in 30 minutes. There are long pauses in questioning. There are weird mistakes that a prosecutor or a defense attorney is going to make on the stand where they say the wrong thing. They go, oh, shucks, sorry about that. You know what I meant. I meant this. they're going to have to go and look at their notes or review something. They don't look polished because polish is entertainment, but reality is much, much messier than that. And they want to get it right more than they want to look good doing it. But that's all been this hesitancy to have the media impacting stuff. But that was also at a time when media needed big ass cameras and all this gear, and it would literally interfere with the courtroom. If you go back to the case with that the fugitive is based on, that was the whole thing. The media is literally interfering with the movement of the attorneys by having these big television broadcast cameras from the 60s hauled around the courtroom. We don't need that anymore. And so we need to start changing with the times.
You're right. You're right. And I think the Supreme Court should allow cameras in the Supreme Court, even though they only do audio only. So yeah, I agree 1,000%. But hopefully they'll vote me in as president and vote you in as what is it called? Senator pro tem, and we can change the law. But until then, we're stuck with what it is right now, unfortunately. But man. One thing though about the Jussie Smollett case. Now, I was told, right, because I was making fun of Kamala Harris and all the lefties after it came out. He was attacked. Oh my god. So now everybody's like, well, Nate, you must have been fooled when it first came out too, because it was a believable story. Now I'm going to tell people straight up, I wasn't fooled, not anyway, about this story. Now, when I first heard it, I'm going to keep it real. I was sitting here with my wife and we was chilling, and we heard the story. And she was like, it's so horrible. He got beat up by some MAGA people in the middle of Chicago. So I'm like, when did this happen? She was like, at 2:00 in the morning. Spider sense start tingling. 2:00 in the fucking morning in Chicago? And I'm like, hold on. There's a fucking polar vortex. Yeah, this is a motherfucker. It's like 10 degrees outside. I'm like, at 2:00 in the morning? What the fuck is he doing out there 2:00 in the morning? So she's like, okay. So she's like, oh, no. He was going to get a Subway sandwich. So I said, they waiting for him at 2:00 in the morning to get a goddamn Subway sandwich? How the fuck did they know he's coming out the apartment? Oh, no. He was coming from the airport, went to his apartment, came out for the Subway sandwich, got the sandwich, and then came back home. And I'm like, yo, somebody was waiting for him all that time in Chicago with MAGA hats? And then we heard the story. They got bleaching ropes. I'm like, hold the fuck on.
Next black guy comes in Subways.
Two motherfucking white guys in the middle of Chicago with MAGA hats got bleach and rope at 2 in the morning waiting for Jussie Smollett coming from Subway? I'm like, what? Is this really the story that he's pushing? I'm like, babe, something doesn't seem wrong with this story. It doesn't just doesn't make you think, And then I'm even like, all right, maybe the story, maybe they were watching him or looking at social media because they're like, oh, he's telling people on social media. I said, okay. Then I heard the piece of the information where I said, this is obviously made up. The plane was 4 hours late. So I'm like, hold on. He was supposed to land at 10:00. His plane was pushed back to 2:00. And these motherfuckers waited outside in sub-freezing temperatures until he got there and didn't get him on the way home. Didn't even get him on the way to fucking Subway. They got him after he got his sandwich. Really?
What's I think his white supremacist accusers get a bad rap. Or his assaulters. I think they get a bad, because they brought the bleach and everybody's like, oh, they're trying to like do, this is like a white thing, right? Like a Michael Jackson type thing where they're trying to bleach. No, they've just been taking notes. No, they just got to sanitize the noose, right? Like that's what they're actually doing. They're like, this has got to be, we got to get medical grade noosery here. That's what's happening. Like,
why was the bleach frozen? They outside in some freezing weather for 4 hours. The bleach is still good. It's like you're throwing ice on the motherfucker at that point. The bleach is no good no more.
That might be worse, man. I don't want to. God, that would suck. So you're getting like the chemical burn from the bleach, but you're also, it's like super cold at the same time. Like,
it's so hot, but it's so cold. Then put a noose around his neck and go at home and tell the cops what we did. We got MAGA hats on.
Do we know what sandwich he bought? Has that come out yet?
No,
Was it a
no,
was it a
nobody knows what sandwich he
vegetarian
bought.
sub? Because if
It
it was
was
a
a MAGA
vegetarian
sub.
sub, if it was a
It was
veggie,
a MAGA.
if this man went in there and bought a veggie sub from Subway, I'm just saying it might have been justified. That's it. Like, don't buy a veggie sub from Subway. Like, you put vegetables on your sandwich at Subway grudgingly because you want some texture. But it's like, you look at those things. I look at that spinach. I'm like, you want to take out the wilted ones though? Like, please.
I'm just imagining them fake hitting them with those deep African accents. Come on, Jesse. MAGA country, MAGA country, MAGA country. He's like, I thought they were white. I thought they were white guys. They sounded like they're from Illinois. MAGA country, motherfucker.
I know this is Trump.
The Trump. We love the Trump. MAGA country, bigot, MAGA country. Like, come on.
Trump sends,
and people
Trump
believe
sends
it.
his regards.
Yeah. And talking about, and then they got the nerve to say, I didn't know. Who would know? Who would know? It's like, listen, if you're the vice president or senator that have a team, and nobody from your team is telling you, we got to hold up on this one because ain't them two white guys in MAGA hats got bleach and rope waiting for Jussie Smollett at 256. That shit just don't make no sense, right? So I don't know what. Guilty. I'm only guilty. I think Jussie Smollett is guilty. Let's see if his acting gets him out, but I think he's guilty.
I don't know.
MAGA
where
country, brother. MAGA.
Where you even keep a MAGA hat on in Chicago? I was in Chicago. This would have been 2017. This is right before I started, or right after I released my first video. I released my first video on November 16th of 20. It would have been 2017. Yeah. November 16th, 2017. And like December 1st or something, I'm in Chicago for a live event, the Dick Show, Road Rage, which was fun. And I'm there, and my buddy is wearing a MAGA hat, and we're out on the street, and a chick walks by and just grabs it right off his head. No, I mean, and she just keeps on walking. And like, it's like, where are you going to, how are you even going to keep a MAGA hat on in the environment that Chicago is in? And it's like, all of this stuff was just, it was just nonsensory. And you're like, wait a minute. You look at any one of these details in a vacuum and you're like, I mean, maybe I guess white supremacy might be a problem in some parts of the country. Maybe in Chicago, some crazies making a statement. And then you're like, it's polar vortex. You're below zero or whatever. Someone said, I don't remember the temperature, but someone said like -39. I think that's a little colder than it would have been in Chicago.
Well,
but
we know it was a polar vortex, right? It was cold
as
fuck.
Yeah. Exactly. I was going to go with the slightly warmer temperature of cold as shit, but I'll take cold as fuck too.
And you're sitting there with bleach and a rope waiting for Jussie Smollett to walk, hoping he goes to the subway. Like, damn, it's 2:00. This is when he usually goes to the subway. Really? And really? I'm talking about only a fool wouldn't have known that was. Now, I understand the media fooled a lot of you people in the chat. A lot of people in the chat probably said, oh, poor Jussie, right? We know who you are. We know who you are. But anybody who just took 2 seconds to think about it would have been like, no, this is ridiculous, right?
And have white supremacists not learned, like, you don't, why are you bringing like the noose and all? Why are you bringing the paraphernalia? Like, it's, if you're gonna assault someone, isn't it more efficient to just assault someone? Like, you don't need all the accessories. What is this, like a Gucci commercial or something? Like,
let's make it very clear that this is a hate crime, right? We want to make sure if we get caught, we get the most serious charges possible. Get the noose and the bleach, right? That's going to definitely make them know.
We're very concerned about the political image of our assault on this person that we hate. That's what we're most concerned about. We want the news to get it right. We really hate this guy. Like, God.
And that's because, and this is the problem. The problem is that they've been making it, and this is the news media have been making this whole racial component. They wanted to think this is 1950 Alabama, right? They want to think it's so bad out there, it's 1950 Alabama. And when you hear about the increased hate crimes, people need to understand that's actually black people assaulting Asian people, right? All the hate crimes here in New York, if you look at them, they're black people actually assaulting Asian people. And those black people who are making those assaults, those aren't Trump supporters, right? Those aren't MAGA country guys, right? Those are black people
by the numbers
who are ignorant to what's going on. So I understand are there hate crimes? Yes. And do we have issues with race in this country? Yes. But this is not 1950 Alabama we're talking about. This is real, and I think the media wants you to feel that way because they were so in the tank against Trump that it became obscene, the things they were saying. Jussie Smollett, they tried to make Jussie Smollett to the anti-Trump guy, right? This is Trump's fault. And now they're afraid to say that it's a lie, right? Because that's what it was. Jussie Smollett was supposed to be the victim, a victim of President Trump. And it happened to be all a fucking lie. That's what this story is really about.
Was this a lie to promote like Empire or just himself, or did he have a project coming up? What? Because I mean, I get that there doesn't need to be a motivation for, something like someone to do a lie for attention, right? There doesn't have to be a specific motivation, but a lot of times there is. And I mean, Empire at the time is a banger of a show. I mean, I never watched it, but it's very popular. It's blowing the doors off of Netflix or whatever. So what you got a star-studded cast, and you've got critical acclaim and marketing out the ass. Like, what is the point here? Was he trying to get on another project? Do we know?
They said it was contract negotiations. He was trying, maybe contract negotiations, maybe something. I don't know.
I was assaulted by 2 Nigerian white supremacists outside a Subway. Give me an extra $1 million. Come on,
MAGA country. MAGA country. You know what? With the Jussie Smollett thing, I could just imagine the fucking cops. They must have been on the scene, like, all right, we know it's a couple of white guys in MAGA. We see them. They're going to the airport. Where are these racist white guys going? Indiana? Or they're going to Wisconsin? They're going to Nigeria.
They were just trying to commit the biggest hate crime they could. They were just going to get to Nigeria, and they're like, man, we have a ripe field of targets here, I guess. Like,
MAGA country, Nigeria. It's like, what? Oh my god, yo, man, I gotta go. I'm so sorry. I gotta go pick up some children, man. But yo, this is it's always awesome to step inside here. I'm sorry I took up so much of your time, bro.
No,
we touched on like every fucking thing.
Look, here's what time you've taken up.
Make Nigeria great again, my brother. Make Nigeria great. MAGA country. I'll see you later, Nick.
See you, buddy. Oh my God.
So pour out an odd bag of bow, more of the Freud. Spirits flow as the ones who get unemployed. So pour out a glass for the tea, post on Twitter as we hear Lost Planning tonight. From the white shores of Nan to the hills of Glenlivet, there's no one who explains the thought better than Nick. So pour out a glass for the ones who have passed to make the law what we are now. From the white shores of Nan to the hills of Glenlivet, there's no one who explains the
Oh, MAGA country, MAGA country, MAGA country, MAGA country, motherfucker. We love the Trump, MAGA country, bigot, MAGA country, MAGA country, brother, MAGA country, guys.
Come on,
MAGA country, MAGA country. This is MAGA country, MAGA country, Nigeria.